Hi students, today we will discuss some of the applications of Michelson interferometer. In the last class, we have seen the interference pattern, the type of the interference pattern that is observed in a Michelson interferometer, and we have seen that it is the concentric circles, dark and bright circles will be obtained. Okay, and that depends upon the path difference, that is 2d cos theta equal to L lambda for the dark rings. Okay, and if theta equal to 0, then we have, that is, if you are observing at the center, looking at the center, then theta is 0 because theta is the angle of observation. Okay, so in that case, we have the condition is 2d is equal to n lambda for dark rings. Okay, so this is the basic equation we are using here for the different measurements. I already told you we can use the Michelson interferometer for measuring the wavelength of the light that is used, that is lambda can be find out. Okay, so that is one of the applications. So we will start with that one. So determination of lambda. Determination of lambda. Okay. Here, see, we are actually measuring the center, the pattern that is observed or the interference that is observed at the center. See, in the first class I told you that these mirrors, see, M1 and M2 are the mirrors which are kept perpendicular to each other. Now this M1 is a movable mirror. That means there is a pitch screw here, and by which we can move the mirror either inward or outwards. Okay. So by moving it, see, I explained to you in the last class that by moving M1, actually we are changing the distance between M1 and the M2 dash, which is the virtual image of M2. Okay, that means the separation between the two will be changing. Okay, by changing that one, what is observed is that we have at the center, see, if the distance is increasing, that is M1, M2 dash is increasing, we observe that the new rings will be formed at the center and the ring system will expand, isn't it? And if this is decreasing, if you move M1 inward, then this ring system will contract and the rings will disappear at the center. Okay. So at a certain position, suppose we are starting with this particular position. Suppose D is the distance between these two, M1 and M2 dash. That means the difference between this length and this length. That is actually D. Okay. So the condition, suppose you are observing the center of the fringe system. That means theta is equal to 0. So you have the situation 2D equal to N lambda. Okay. So that is the basic equation we are using. So I told you, whatever you see at the center will be having the maximum value of n. Okay, because 2d cos theta is equal to n lambda, theta is equal to 0 is a maximum value. So 2d is a maximum value, lambda is a constant. So n should be having the maximum value at the center. Okay, so maybe I told you that is maybe it is 500 to 1, 400 to 1, whatever it is, that maximum value will be there. Right. Now, suppose you are observing, suppose at this particular setup, what you are observing at the center is taken as say N1. Okay, so we can write say 2D1, where D1 is the distance between this M1 and M2 dash. Okay, so 2D1 equal to N1 into lambda. So you don't have to actually know the value of D1. Okay, that you will understand now. Now, suppose this is the situation. You don't know the exact value of n at the center and you don't know the exact value of d1. Okay, no problem. Now, from this position, by looking through the telescope, you are moving the micrometer screw here. That means you are turning the screw and this M1 will slightly, then slowly that will move away from this one. Okay, that is outward. So what will happen when this M1 is moving outward? you can see that new rings will be formed at the center. Okay. So you can count that one. So by moving this M1 outward and by closely or carefully observing through the telescope, we can see how many number of fringes will be produced or that will be developing at the center. Okay, so by moving it, you can see that this particular dark spot now that will increase or the size will increase, and then a bright spot will be formed at the center, and that will expand and new fringe will be formed. Okay, so by observing through or looking through the telescope, suppose you can see you can count the numbers. Okay, and now you have moved it to another position. Okay, initially suppose this is the position, suppose this one, okay, that is what you have taken as D1. Okay, whatever it is, the reading on the micrometer screw, that is D1. Okay, you can have any value. So D1 is there. Now it has moved slightly outward. Suppose this is a new position. Okay, M1 has now reached at this position. M1. Okay, M1 is now here. And the corresponding reading is D2. Okay. Now we can write 2 D2 equal to, so this number should have changed. Definitely that will be changed. So you can write that as N2 lambda. Okay. That is N2 lambda. Now you take the difference between these two. This is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. Subtracting 1 from 2, you can write 2 into D2 minus D1 is equal to N2 minus N1 into lambda. Okay. Now what is N2 minus N1? You are observing through the telescope. Okay. Now N2 minus N1 is the number of new fringes that are formed at the center. Okay. So N2 minus N1, you can actually count the number of rings, new rings that will be formed. Okay. So N2 minus N1 is the number of rings that are produced at the center. So you can count through looking through the telescope. So this is N2 minus, okay, you can write it as, now suppose D2 minus D1 is the distance mode, and that you can measure from the micrometer and that scale, and suppose the value is taken as x. That you can actually count because you have noted the first position and now you know the second position. D2 minus, that is the distance that is moved. Okay. So D2 minus D1 is equal to x, and N2 minus N1 is the number of new rings formed or that appear at the center. Okay. Now N2 minus N1 can be written as capital N. Okay. N2 minus N1 is equal to capital N. Now you can write that is 2 into x is equal to capital N into lambda. Okay. Or what is lambda? Lambda is equal to 2x by n. Okay. So lambda is equal to 2x by n. Right. This is the expression for the wavelength of light. See, we have explained it in terms of the dark rings that are formed. Okay, you can use the bright rings also. Then also you will end up with the same equation. So this is the first application. By knowing the value of n and x, you can calculate the value of lambda directly. Okay. So that is the first application or the use of the Michelson interferometer. Now, see, you move to the second application. Suppose you are having a source of light that produces two very close wavelengths. See, for measuring all these things, what we require is a monochromatic light. Otherwise, it won't work because we have to clearly see the fringe system. And a large number of wavelengths are there, means a large number of fringe systems will be formed, and they will all overlap, and you will not be able to make any measurements. So, strictly what we require is a monochromatic source of light. Now, suppose you are having a source which produces two close wavelengths. Okay. Suppose the example is the sodium vapor lamp. Sodium vapor lamp produces two wavelengths, yellow 1 and yellow 2. Okay, they are very close. Only 6 Armstrong unit is the difference between the two. Now suppose you have two different wavelengths are there. Okay, lambda 1 and lambda 2. Now see, okay, lambda 1 and lambda 2. And so for convenience, you can say two different colors are there. Okay, so they will produce its own interference pattern. Now, see what will happen? The interference patterns are there, that ring system is there, the pattern is there, and they will definitely overlap. Okay, so we cannot easily take the measurement. So what is being done is that by arranging or moving the position of M1, you will arrive at a position where you have a very clear ring system. Okay, the interference pattern. That happens when the two fringe systems will overlap. That means at the center, now the condition is such that for both the wavelengths at the center, you have the condition equal to 2b equal to n lambda. Okay, that is the condition, or that is the integral multiple of lambda. So the condition for the wavelengths lambda 1 and lambda 2 are such that the dark rings will coincide. Okay, that means you can see the interference pattern then clearly. That means the position for the ring system. So we are looking at the center, and near the center you can have a very clear appearance of dark region, bright region, dark region, bright region, so on. Okay, so that is the situation. So that you can actually obtain by arranging or by moving slowly the mirror M1. Okay, now so that means these two ring systems corresponding to lambda 1 and lambda 2 coincides. Now if you further move M1 slightly, you can see that clarity will be lost. That means they are actually now started to overlap, because dark ring will coincide with the bright ring of the other one and so on. So the clarity will be lost. So what is required is that you arrange the position of M1 in such a way that initially a clear interference pattern is observed. Okay. Now see, I am drawing it in a linear direction. Suppose you are taking a small cross section like this. Okay, a cross section inside this one. So that means you can draw the straight line motion. You are cutting it. Okay. So you can draw it like this. For lambda 1, you have, this is the first one. Okay. So the center is there. Okay, you can have the center. Then you have the first line will be here, and the second will be here, and the third will be here, and so on. Okay, so it's actually the ring system. I am taking only a small portion. Okay, so this is for lambda 1, like this. And for lambda 2, suppose the wavelength is slightly smaller than lambda 1. Okay, that means the condition is lambda 1 is larger than lambda 2. Okay, so that means, so lambda is smaller, that means the fringe system will be little more closer, isn't it? So our assumption is that initially the two ring systems will, or fringe systems will coincide. So this is the first one. Okay, I am drawing it separately because you have to understand that. Okay, so the first line is there for the lambda 2. And what about the second line for lambda 2? That will be slightly closer than the second one, because lambda is smaller. So D is smaller. The required separation will be smaller. Okay, so the second line will be here. Okay, so this is the separation between the adjacent lines for the second wavelength. Okay, now where will you get the third one? Third one will be somewhere here. Okay, now this is the fourth one, and this is the fifth one. Okay, okay, like this one, then you have another one, and then you have another one. So maybe this one will coincide. Okay, so these two lines will be coinciding. Okay, that means initially the two lines are coinciding. Okay, now you have a fringe system. Now you turn this screw, that is you are moving M1. So you are looking at the center. Okay, so the clarity will be observed at the center itself. Now the system will be now blurred because you are moving means you are actually changing the positions. Okay, so the ring system will be blurred. Now you turn, then after a certain distance, again this system will become clearer. The pattern will become clear. So initially it is clear, then again after moving through a certain distance, again the ring system will become clear. Okay, so when will it happen? See, this is the first one, this is second one, third one, fourth one. This is the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. That means when it is moved through a distance such that the nth one and the n plus one. Okay, so in this case, so these are, say this is a distance. I am actually taking the distance like this. Okay, so you are moving. You are moving means initially this is clear, then they will change the position. That means the clarity will be lost. And when you have moved through a distance x, again these two will be coinciding. So that happens when the nth fringe of the first wavelength coincide with the n plus 1 because say 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the system will be again clearer. That means the nth ring of the the first wavelength lambda coincide with the n plus 1 ring of the second wavelength. Okay, so that will happen only after traveling through a distance x because this is first one, second one corresponding to a path reference of lambda. Okay, so again another path reference, and so on. Okay, so we can write the situation as 2d is equal to n lambda for the first one and 2d is again equal to n plus 1 lambda 2. That means for the second one. So I think you got the idea. You have initially both rings are coinciding at the center. You have a clear one. The bright, dark and bright rings will be observed at the center. Now you are moving it. It will become blurred. Now after you have moved through a distance d, that means you are moving slight distance d, okay, a certain distance, again it will become clear. And in that case you can see that the situation is that at this particular distance d, center path reference is 2d, at this particular distance d, again the nth ring of lambda 1 will coincide with the n plus 1 ring of lambda 2. Okay, so distance is same distance, this will be happening. So from this equation you can write that is n lambda 1 is equal to n plus 1 lambda 2. Okay, you can find the value of n. What is the value? N into lambda 1 minus lambda 2 is equal to lambda 2, isn't it? Okay, you're taking this one to the left side. Okay, so what is n? N is equal to lambda 2 by lambda 1 minus lambda 2, isn't it? N is equal to lambda 2 by lambda 1 minus lambda 2. Okay, now you can put the value of n in any of this equation. Okay, you take the first one. We have 2d is equal to, instead of n you can write lambda 2 by lambda 1 minus lambda 2. Lambda 2 by lambda 1 minus lambda 2 into lambda 1. Okay, so that is equal to lambda 1 lambda 2 by lambda 1 minus lambda 2, isn't it? Now, if the two wavelengths are close to each other, you can write lambda 1 minus lambda 2 equal to delta lambda if you want. Okay, now they are very close, you can again write lambda 1 into lambda 2 equal to lambda square. You can write it that way also. Okay, again, okay. That is, see what you require is the difference between the two wavelengths. That is, we are calculating here. Okay, difference between the two wavelengths. Okay, this is the second application, difference between the two wavelengths. So, lambda we can write from this equation, lambda 1 minus lambda 2 is equal to lambda 1 lambda 2 divided by 2d. Okay. Now, see this lambda 1 and lambda 2, if they are very close, then see if you are having a system or a spectrometer which is having a low resolution, you will be observing the average value of lambda 1 and the lambda 2. Okay, so that is taken as lambda, where lambda is the average value of lambda 1 and lambda 2. Okay, so that is the value. If they are very close, you will not be able to observe the value of observe the two lines, spectral lines separately for lambda 1 and lambda 2. You will get a single line because the resolution is small. Okay, so you will get the average value. So if the average value is lambda, then you can write lambda 1 minus lambda 2 equal to lambda 1 lambda 2 can be written as lambda squared divided by 2d. Okay, so this is the equation that is used for calculating the difference between the two wavelengths. Okay. Now the third one is the standardization of meter. Standardization of meter. In the first application, where I told you we can measure the wavelength of light can be obtained exactly or very accurately from the Michelson interferometer. The equation we have seen was 2d equal to or 2x equal to n lambda, or x is equal to n lambda by 2. Okay, x is equal to n lambda by 2. Okay, now this x is the distance moved by the mirror M1, where x is equal to d1 minus d2. Okay, so the distance moved x, and that is equal to n into lambda by 2, where n is the number of fringes that are appearing or disappearing at the center. Appearing when it is moving away, disappearing when it is moving towards the center, okay, along this particular direction. So if we can measure the number of fringes that are disappearing at the center, then we can connect these legs and lambda, isn't it? Lambda is the wavelength of light that is used. Okay, suppose if you know that value exactly, then we can measure x, or we can express x in terms of the wavelength lambda, isn't it? That means the distance can be expressed in terms of the wavelength lambda. Only thing is that you have to measure exactly, or you have to count exactly the number of fringes that are appearing or disappearing at the center. So in that way you can connect these two. X can be, or the distance can be expressed in terms of the wavelength lambda. Okay. So this is the principle that is involved in the standardization of meter. Okay, so we all use the meter scale, isn't it? And the standard of that meter scale is the scale that is kept at the International Bureau of Weights and Measures in Paris. So that is the standard. Okay, now we can have a more accurate definition or standard for defining the length of 1 meter. Okay, if you are defining in terms of the wavelength of light, suppose, see the advantage is that see the light emitted by an atom, that will have a certain wavelength. Okay, that does not depend upon the place or the conditions. Okay, isn't it? So the wavelength of light will be the same whether you are you are observing, you are measuring here or in the US or in the moon, wherever it is, that value will not change. So if we can define 1 meter in terms of the wavelength of a particular light, then that will be a standard value. Okay, so that is what is done in the case of standardization of meter. Okay. Now, for that, say 1 meter means it's a large quantity compared to the wavelength of the light, that is lambda, isn't it? And see, we have seen already that by moving this m1 through a distance lambda by 2, then one fringe will appear here, or one fringe will be newly formed at the center, or that will disappear for each lambda by 2. Also, see, you can see that if the path reference 2D is much large, that means the path reference 2D or the distance D is much larger, then the path reference will be a large value and you will not be able to clearly observe the interference pattern. Okay, so 2D should be smaller. If you are having a large distance, say it is some 30 centimeters. Okay, this distance is 30 centimeters. You will not observe the interference pattern because the path difference is very large. You won't get the interference pattern. So that should be smaller. So what is being done is that a meter scale is divided into a large number of subunits. They are called ethelons. Okay, and one ethelon is the smallest ethelon. So the meter scale is divided into different subsections, and they are called ethelons. And the smallest ethelon is having a length that is equal to 0.03900625. So that is the value 625 centimeter. So that is 0.03900625 centimeter. That is the length of the smallest ethelon. Then the next ethelon will be double this value. Okay, length will be double this one. And that is doubling the value, and you have the final value, you will get the 10 centimeter for the 9th ethelon. Okay, so the division is like this. It is divided into different subsections. Okay, and the first they are called ethelons. The first ethelon is having a length of 0.03900625 centimeter, and the second one be double this one, and third one be the double the length of the previous one. And like that, you have, when you reach the 9th ethelon, the length will be equal to 10 centimeters. Okay, now see, this is for accurately measuring. So what is being done is that, then see, there will be, so actually there will be two different mirrors will be arranged which are separated by a value this much. Okay, now the thing is that for the time being, see, you can say that m1 is initially moved through a distance of 0.03900625 centimeter. Okay, then you can count the number of fringes that are appearing or disappearing at the center. Okay, you are moving away, it is appearing at the center. You can actually exactly or directly measure the value of the number of fringes that are appearing at the center. Okay, now you go to the second one, that is second ethelon, that is double this value into 2, that is the length. Then again the mirror m1 is moved from the initial position to the double this value. Okay, then that is the second ethelon. You can again count the exact number of fringes that are appearing. Okay, again that n can be measured. Now this can be compared. For the first one, you know the number. Okay, and for the second ethelon, again you count the number. You can compare these two and you can find if there are any errors. Okay, now then go to the third one. Then the third one also, that means double the previous one, second one. And then again we can count the number of fringes, and then that will be compared with the previous one. So that is for increasing the accuracy. Likewise, you can count the number of fringes that are appearing for the 9th ethelon, that is for 10 centimeter also. Okay, now that for 10 centimeter, what will be the number of fringes that are obtained? Okay, that from that you can calculate the number of wavelengths. See, for each of the fringe, the equation is x is equal to n lambda by 2. Okay, so for changing one fringe, the distance mode will be lambda by 2. For producing two rings there, the value will be, or the path will be lambda by 2 into 2. Okay, so for each lambda by 2, a new ring will be formed. So by counting the total number of rings, we can see what will be the distance traveled or moved in terms of lambda. So for 039, 026, first echelon, you can find the number of lambda involved. Second one, again, you can find the number of lambda involved because you know the number of rings that are formed. Okay. So in that way, each echelon can be related to the number of wavelengths, and eventually you reach the named echelon, that is equal to 10 centimeter. And for 10 centimeter, how many wavelengths are involved in that? That can be counted. Okay. And from that, we can, so this is for 10 centimeter, from which we can actually say what will be the exact number of wavelengths for 1 meter length. Okay. So that is how it is standardized. So eventually, what is happening is that 1 meter length is expressed in terms of lambda. Okay. Now, see, it is done for or by using the cadmium light. So cadmium emits through three different lights, that is red, blue and green. Okay, three different wavelengths are there. So for the cadmium red light, the meter scale is standardized as 553,163.5 wavelengths of the red emission from cadmium. That is 1,553,163.5 wavelengths of the red light emitted by cadmium. That is equal to 1 meter. So you have now a more precise definition or standard for the meter scale. Okay, 1 meter means this much wavelengths of lambda. And similarly, if you are taking the green light emitted by cadmium, with respect to the green light emitted by cadmium, the value will be 1,966,249.7 lambdas of the green light that is emitted by cadmium. And in terms of the blue light, this will be 2,083,372.1 lambdas of the blue light that is emitted by cadmium. Okay, so that is one way of defining it. Okay, and other definitions are also there using the red orange emission by the krypton, that is also there. Okay, so you can remember any of this. So the idea is that by defining a meter scale in such a way that standardization will be more precise. Okay, so that is the application of a. So this can be done using the Michelson interferometer by precisely measuring, and the error will be 1 part in 10 raised to 9. That means that is 1 by 10 raised to 9. That is the accuracy of the measurements. That can be done using the Michelson interferometer. Now another application is to calculate the refractive index. Refractive index of a given transparent sheet. Okay, a thin transparent sheet. So that can be done using a Michelson interferometer. Now here, see, suppose there is a transparent sheet, suppose a glass, very thin glass sheet is there. So that is introduced in the path of one of the interfering beams. So this is the first one and this is the second beam. Okay. Now that thin sheet, transparent sheet is introduced in the path of one of these beams. So what will happen? That is a denser medium. That film is a denser medium. That means the path difference will change, isn't it? So we have already calculated that in our previous classes that the path difference introduced because of the transparent sheet. Okay, you can write it like this. So this is suppose the first one, that is say G1. Okay, and this is say M2. Okay, you can have any 2 points. Okay, now this is a path between the two, that is G1 M2. Now we are introducing a thin sheet of refractive index mu and thickness T in this path. So what is the additional path that is produced? Additional path. There is already a path difference. You can have that particular fringe pattern there. Now because of this the denser medium, there is an additional path. What is that? We have already calculated that value, that is mu minus 1 into T, isn't it? Okay, because see G1, from G1 to M2, the geometrical path is that is G1 M2 minus T. This will be the path that is from G1 to M2 along air. Okay, through air. So G1 M2 minus T. Now plus there is a path through this one also, that is mu into T. Okay, isn't it? That is a path, there is a path from G1 to M2. So that is G1 M2 minus T. This thickness is subtracted and the remaining path is in air, plus the thickness T, that is the denser medium, so that is mu into T. So this will be equal to G1 M2, that is this distance, minus T plus mu T, or that is equal to G1 M2 plus T, you can take as common factor, then you have mu minus 1. Okay, so this is the additional path that is produced when you are introducing a thin sheet of refractive index mu and thickness T in the path of one of the beams. Okay, so because of this additional path, you can see that there is a sudden shift in the fringe pattern. Okay, so you have a ring system there. So when you are introducing this one, you can see that there is a sudden shift. Okay, and if we can calculate how many fringes are shifted, then mu minus 1 into T is the path, and since this light is going to M2 and then it is returning, so the light has to pass twice through this one. So the total additional path is equal to 2 into mu minus 1 into T. So this is the additional optical path. Okay, so that means the additional path difference introduced. Already there is a path difference. By introducing this one, this is the additional one. So the additional path difference is 2 into mu minus 1 into T. And because of that path difference, suppose n number of fringes are changed. Okay, n number of fringes. That means the fringe system will change definitely. Fringes will be formed. And suppose n is the number of fringes that are formed, then you can write 2 into mu minus 1 into T is equal to n lambda. Okay, or you can say what is mu, or T is equal to n lambda divided by 2 into mu minus 1. Or if you want to find the value of mu, what will be the equation? What will be the equation? That is mu is equal to, you can write it as mu is equal to n lambda divided by 2 into T plus 1, isn't it? So that is the equation for mu. Okay. So here the only difficulty is that it is we have to actually count the number of fringes that are shifting, okay, or that are newly formed. So if you are using a monochromatic light, the fringe system will look the same, isn't it? Once you introduce that one, you can say there is a sudden shift, but it is not possible to count the value. So we have to actually find the path difference that is introduced by this particular thin sheet. Okay, and for that one, we can use a white light. So if you are using white light, see what will happen if you are using white light. Of course, see when you will observe a fringe system, but you will observe it only if the path difference between these two, that is the D, the separation between the two is very small. Okay, the path difference will be very small, that is 2D equal to n lambda is the equation. Okay, now this D or the path difference should be very small in order to observe the pattern here, for if you are using a white light. Now, what if the path difference D is equal to 2D equal to 0 or D is equal to 0? That is 2D equal to n lambda is the condition for dark fringe. Okay, and if D is equal to 0, that means from here this distance and this distance are the same. So what will happen? 2D equal to 0. Okay, so 2D equal to 0 means you have the condition for the destructive interference, isn't it? 2D equal to 0 here. So here if you put n is equal to 0, you will get the 0 on the right side also. Okay, so this condition, if D1 equal to D2 or this distance and this distance are the same, that is the condition for destructive interference. Okay, so you will get a dark region. Now if you increase the distance, so if you move this M1 slightly, initially you will get the colored fringes, and then everything will be lost because in white light you have a large number of fringes. Okay, now see in that situation, initially suppose for 0 path difference, you will get the dark fringe. Okay, now you are introducing a thin sheet there. What will happen? Initially it was D is equal to 0 means the path difference equal to 0 means you have a dark region there. Now you are introducing a transparent sheet. Then that system will be actually disrupted. Now again, say you move this M1 in such a way that again you will get 0 path difference, from which you can identify how far this M1 should go in order to restore the previous situation. Okay, so that is actually due to the introduction of the glass plate, that is the thin sheet. Okay, that is having a thickness T. So using the white light, you identify how far you should go, and that is taken as a D, okay, or X, in order to again obtain the 0 path difference, okay, by using the white light. Then you replace that one by the monochromatic light, okay, monochromatic light having a wavelength lambda. Then you move through exactly the same distance X and count the number of fringes that is formed there, from which we can use this one, the T is equal to n lambda by 2 into mu minus 1. Okay, so using the white light you can find the shift because of the thin sheet. Okay, so this X, that is initially it is 0, you have destructive interference. By introducing this one, that will be changed. You move M2, M1 in such a way that again the perfect destructive interference is obtained. That means that is the actual shift X. And now you replace white light by the given monochromatic light. Then you move the mirror M1 through exactly the same distance X and count the number of rings that are formed. Then you can use that number as n. Okay, and the lambda as the monochromatic light, and T is equal to n lambda by 2 into mu minus 1. So this is the third application. Okay, so that's all for now, and we will continue in the next class.